Well, the boat totally sank.
It sank so hard. It was so big.
The boat was so big. How did it even?
It went.
Gosh.
It went under the water.
It broke in half.
It's gone.
So crazy.
I'm glad you're warm and everything, but I feel like there's totally room for both of us on that door.
No, man.
Yes.
You saw it. It was getting all tippy when you tried to get on it, so there's only room for one of us. And I need to stretch out a little bit.
That's true. That's true. In the water, you know, it's getting warmer.
I mean, you'll be fine.
Okay. Yes.
I don't mean to be this guy, but this is one of the worst vacations I've ever been on.
Oh, so bad.
Totally.
Ain't the worst. Easy. Remember that one time?
The guy.
We were up on the boat. Did this thing.
We were holding.
And we were on top.
We were holding on.
And we were looking down.
Yeah.
And one guy, he was like,
I'm getting it.
And he hit the thing. He flipped so many times.
On the propeller.
And hit the wall.
It's totally.
I was so scared. I had trouble laughing, but I feel like that was a pretty funny moment.
I really lightened the mood.
Yeah.
Seeing that guy. He's like a pinball machine, man.
But he's so
so
dead.
alive.
No, he's still
so
dead.
okay.
He's dead.
He totally made it.
He's for sure dead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I bet there are so many sharks. If I were you, I would totally be freaking out right now.
Why?
I mean, there's like 2,000 people kicking and screaming and freaking out in the water.
Right. I'm pretty sure sharks are like snakes. Like it's cold and they just want to stay where it's warmer. Right?
Yeah, probably not. I think they're just vicious creatures.
Okay.
Don't worry though, they'll like come and give a nip.
Okay.
On your feet, so you totally know you're about to get eaten.
Okay.
So it won't be a surprise.
Listen to me. Oh, take my hand.
Take your hand.
Yes.
Okay.
Because you're my friend, Mark.
Oh.
What?
Your hands are so cold.
Really?
Why are they so cold?
I'm sorry. Your hand is really warm.
I mean, I am out of the water.
Listen.
What?
I need you to promise me something.
Whatever, man.
Sorry.
What's that guy about? Listen to me. I need you to promise me something.
Anything.
Whatever you do.
Whatever I do.
However hard it gets.
However hard it gets.
I need you to make sure that you make it.
I make it.
You survive.
I survive.
You're not dying today.
I'm totally gonna survive.
You're gonna die an old man.
Yeah, I'm totally not dying today.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not to worry.
No.
I'm so okay. Like.
Right.
I mean, imagine I survived a boat sinking. And
That's
I found
true.
this random door.
Yes.
And for some reason, the door came off, but the whole ship is bad. I don't know. But yeah, I'm just gonna paddle over there to the boats.
The boats?
Yeah, they've been over there the whole time.
What?
Yeah.
Why did you kick us over there?
I think you only have room for one, so.
But no.
Maybe you could paddle us over there, and then we could switch. And
But you're gonna make it, though.
And you could get on the door.
I'm gonna make it.
Well, I don't know. I'll definitely make it. For you.
I'm gonna make it.
Yeah.
Am I gonna make it?
No. You're gonna paddle because I'm on the door.
No, but.
And I can't get in the water. So
No, your feet can go in the water.
No,
I'll
it's
be
way
in.
too cold.
No.
So you paddle us. I'll get on the boat.
Oh, gosh.
And then we can switch.
But I can't. Am I paddling? Am I paddling?
Yeah. No.
Am I paddling? Listen. We're friends, right?
We're totally friends.
You'll never let me go. You'll never let me go. Right?
What?
We're together. You never let me go.
I'm right here, man.
You never let me go.
I'm on this door.
You never let me go.
I'm right here.
Good.
For you.
Right.
Yeah. Never let me go. Actually, maybe if you would.
What?
Maybe just for one.
No.
I'm not letting go.
What?
I'm not letting go. But maybe if
No, you.
Put your hand right there.
Okay.
Maybe if you just lay there for a second.
No.
Maybe I'm just gonna lay down.
Okay.
Okay. Well, actually, that's good. Okay, time out. Wait.
Okay.
Time. Okay. Right. Maybe you could float for a little bit.
Okay.
Oh gosh.
But maybe the boats are coming back for us. But.
know that one scene in Pocahontas where she does this on the rock?
Yeah.
I totally feel like her right now.
Right.
Except,
it's very majestic.
oh my gosh, that poor dog is driving.
Well, welcome to week 2 of a series we started last week called At the Movies. I want to welcome those of you that are tuning in at church online or maybe even TV and all of our West Texas campuses, especially our Abernathy campus. They launched last weekend. Aren't we glad Abernathy is with us? Yeah. What's up, Abernathy? I got to be there for the launch last weekend. God's going to do some amazing things in Abernathy. I can't wait to see it. And like I said, we're in At the Movies, right? And it's a little bit of a different series. We're taking a look at some popular movies, kind of through a biblical lens, trying to pull some spiritual truths from these movies. Last week, Chris did Star Wars. This week, I'm doing a much more manly movie. I'm doing Pixar's Inside Out, the animated feature film. And, I'm a full-grown adult male, but I'm not ashamed to say I love this movie. It is so good. If you haven't seen it, I would suggest that you do. It's so very creative. It makes you really think about a couple of things. And before we get into the content of what we're going to be talking about, though, I pulled together a few clips just to kind of set up the premise of the movie for those of you that haven't seen it. So let's check those out together now. Man, I love this movie, especially when it gets to the parents, right? And we get a look inside their minds. I don't know about you, but I, as a married man, and especially as a father of a 13-year-old daughter, I think very often, what in the world is going on inside there? You know what I'm saying? Guys, have you ever wondered that when you looked at the female in your life? It could be your mom, daughter, sister, spouse, it doesn't matter. What's going on in there? Like, I can't even imagine the intricate maze of detail that must be their brains, And I get asked this question all the time. What are you thinking? I've never asked anyone that question as long as I've lived, right? And I got it the other night even, like, what are you thinking about? And I'm sure, ladies, you'd probably like to know what guys are thinking about, right? Guys, would you like to know what guys are thinking? I mean, I'll tell you. Nothing. Nothing. We're just walking around, looking around, nothing going on up there. And especially my kids, man, if you're a parent, you get this, but on a daily basis, you just like wonder, where do they come up with this stuff? Like, how are they connecting the dots in their brain? I told this story a while back with my 9-year-old Aiden. He can't decide what car he wants when he turns 16 because he's already thinking about those things. He can't decide between a Mustang GT or a motorhome. And that's kind of trickled down to my other son, Xander. He's 6, and now Xander, of course, wants a motorhome when he turns 16. And we're driving around the other day, and he said, "Dad, are motorhomes just for vacation?" And I'm thinking, finally, he's like understanding that, a motorhome is not the most practical choice for a 16-year-old boy. So I'm like, yeah, buddy, they are. They're pretty much just for vacation. And he said, well, I guess I'll need 2 then, one for vacation and one to go to the store in. I'm like, I don't get how that works. But with Riley, in this movie, Riley's the main character, we look at her emotions. The movie's about emotions and how she's going through some changes in life, and how emotionally she reacts to things, and it kind of determines her behavior and what she decides to do and all that kind of stuff. So we're talking about emotions today. Now, to kind of preface all of this, emotions are God-given, right? He created us as human beings to feel things. We have feelings, we have emotions, and it's good to feel things, and it's good to express your emotions in a healthy way, right? But we're talking today about when we go wrong with emotions. And when emotions play too big of a part in our lives. And we're talking primarily, we're going to be looking at some different scriptures about the heart or the soul. Okay, heart and soul, they're kind of used interchangeably in Scripture. But what the heart and the soul kind of consist of is your mind, so the things that you think, your will, and your emotions, stuff you feel. And the Bible has some very strong warnings when it comes to the things we think and the things we feel. And so we're going to start with the scripture in Proverbs chapter 4. This is Solomon kind of sharing with us a word from God. He says in verse 23, "Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life." So he's kind of warning us, like, guard your heart, okay? Be careful Be careful with the things you think and the things you feel, because these things kind of determine the course of your life. And then he gets even stronger in Jeremiah 17. This is the prophet Jeremiah again, sharing with us the words of God. And he's very strong. Verse 9, he says, "The human heart is the most deceitful of all things and desperately wicked." So our hearts are deceitful and wicked. The things we think, the things we feel, they're deceitful. You can't trust them. You can't always trust the things you feel. They lie to you. Your feelings lie to you. Your thoughts betray you. And if we're not careful, it can lead us down the wrong path. Man, we go through life, we have relationships, we have work things going on, and just the world around us changing. We react in ways, we have emotional responses to things, and if we're not careful, they can lie to us and lead us down a path we don't want to go. And I would venture to say all of us, it happens to almost all of us on a daily basis to some extent. Let me give you an example of a time that I got emotionally out of control. This was back in the early days of Experience Life. The church was, 1 or 2 years old, somewhere in there, that just exploding, in growth, and we were trying to figure things out. There weren't a whole lot of people working with us, so there was a lot on my plate. And sometime and somehow in the first couple of years of the church there, I started to develop these assumptions of Chris Galanos, our lead pastor, and specifically about how he thought about me. The things he thought, how he felt about me. Like, I began to assume that he didn't think I could handle it, and that he didn't think I could do the job, and that he didn't think that I could, handle all the responsibilities that I had. And it was kind of layered in there it created some insecurities, right? So imagine yourself putting on these rose-colored sunglasses. So it colors everything you see that color, right? Well, every conversation I had with Chris, every text, every email, it all came through that filter of what I had assumed to be true about him. That was the foundation of our relationship. And it got so bad, and I got so mad, and I was just completely off the rails, like out of control emotionally. I was ready to quit. And in fact, I decided I was going to quit. There was one day, I remember it very clearly, it was lunchtime, and I had a meeting with Chris in the afternoon, and I decided I'm done. I even texted my wife and my mom and my sister, and I said, pray for me because I'm about to go in there and I'm quitting. So I go in, we sit down and have a meeting, and I kid you not, within 1 minute, it all came down. Why? Because I realized after talking to him that those things that I had assumed were true about the way he felt about me, the way he thought about me, those things weren't true. They weren't true at all. He didn't think any of those things. And I left his office feeling like a complete idiot. Why? Because I had believed all of these lies that were being fed to me by me, right? My own thoughts, the things I felt. I'd gotten so out of control emotionally that it almost led me to make a huge mistake based on a lie. It could have cost me my job, my ministry here. See, it's good to have feelings and to express them, but they can betray you. Would you agree with this statement? The world is out of control. The world we live in is completely out of control. Your circumstances are out of control. Like the things we go through each day, we can't control any of that, right? Sometimes we go through storms in life. So if our emotions, right, and our attitudes are dependent upon our circumstances, doesn't it stand to reason that our lives will also be out of control? Let me say that again. If our emotions are determined by our circumstances, our lives will be out of control, unstable. And it can affect every part of our lives. It affects our relationships with our spouses or our family. It affects our work. It can affect our income. It can even affect our relationship with God. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. This is where you kind of take a look inside, right, and face the brutal facts. It gets a little bit uncomfortable for you, but let's be honest. Take a look at your life. Here's my question. Are you living a reactive life? Are you living a reactive life? Like reacting to circumstances around you, like kind of emotionally all over the place? Do you feel like you're a slave to your emotions, like just dragged around from one conflict to the next and just completely emotionally out of control? Because we're all guilty of this at times. Every single one of us are guilty of this at times. Like in the words of the great philosopher George Strait, we get carried away, right? It happens to all of us. And I can almost hear some guys thinking in the room, just like, whatever. Like, I don't have problems with my emotions, right? My wife, she needs to listen, right? But I don't, not me. Listen, as a man, I can say this to you plainly, right? Just because we can be incapable of sharing our feelings in like a constructive and healthy way, that doesn't mean we're not emotional. We're emotional. We're moody. We have issues with this. You think after a long day at work, you've had a bad day, and you come dragging all that stuff home with you and just plop down at the dinner table, you think no one notices that something's wrong? Like they notice, right? We're emotional creatures. And that leads me to the second question. When you're looking at your life, who's in the driver's seat of your life? Who's in the driver's seat of your life? Think back to the movie, right? You had Riley, who's the main character, kind of the control center there. Who was in the head seat? You remember? It was Joy. She's kind of the one running things. What about the mom? You remember? The sadness. Calling the shots. What about the dad? It's anger. It's interesting, isn't it? Who's in the driver's seat of your life? Man, the anger one hits me. Too often, my anger is calling the shots when I'm at home. Who's in the driver's seat of your life? Is it sadness or anger, fear? Do you feel like your life is unstable, out of control? Because if we're ever going to have a stable life, like we've just talked about, our focus can't be on our circumstances because they're out of control. So if we ever want to have a stable life, we have to take our focus off our circumstances, off the things happening to us. And instead, we have to put our focus on Jesus as believers. I want to share with you Proverbs 4. This is a couple of verses before the guard your heart verse that we read earlier, but this is Solomon again, the words of God saying to us, verse 20. My child, pay attention to what I say. Listen carefully to my words. Don't lose sight of them. Let them penetrate into your heart, for they bring life to those who find them and healing to their whole body. Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. So God's saying very plainly here, like, hey, look at me. Like, listen to me. Don't look at your surroundings. Don't look at the other people in your life or your circumstances. Don't listen to yourself. Don't listen to your own thoughts, your emotions. Like, listen to me, because only I can bring you healing and life and peace, stability. Look at me. Listen to me. There's this awesome story in the New Testament with Peter and the other disciples, and they're in this boat. And it's really late at night, and they're out on the water, and this storm comes up, and it's really bad, and they're completely panicked. And they look out, and they see this shadowy figure out there, and they think it's a ghost, right? They're freaking out, and they figure out it's Jesus, and he's walking on the water towards them, and he calls Peter out of the boat. So Peter gets out, and he starts walking on the water towards Jesus. But then something happens. He starts looking around. He's like, oh my gosh, I'm walking on water, and he remembers, oh yeah, it's stormy, like there's wind and there's waves, and he gets scared. And what happens to him? He sinks. So I think there's a valuable lesson there for us. If our focus is on our circumstances instead of Jesus, we sink every time. Take a look at these two pictures. There's a couple of boats here, right? If you had to choose Which boat would you want to be in? I mean, would it be the perfect storm boat of death on the left? Or would it be instead just peace and tranquility on the right? Because if we're being honest, our lives a lot of time look like the perfect storm, right? And we can't control all of that. But did you know that as believers, as people who follow Jesus, have him living on the inside of us, that we can be going through the perfect storm, but we can still experience peace? See, in Philippians 4, we learn that we can freak out and we can panic, but he's saying, don't do all that, just pray. Pray, and then God will give us peace. Peace that doesn't make sense, right? So that means that even though we're in a perfect storm, we can experience peace. That doesn't make sense, right? Or even if we have something to be afraid of, we can be fearless. Even if we have a reason to be upset with someone, to be mad, we can instead be forgiving. Even though we have a reason to be afraid, and we have a reason maybe to be out of control with our emotions, we can instead internally be completely at peace and stable. And I say all this fully aware that there are people here at all of our campuses that your life really does feel like the perfect storm. You're just tossed around by every situation, out of control. And it could be that the reason your life is in that condition is that you don't have a relationship with the one that gives peace. You can't have a relationship with him until we take care of our sin problem. Our sin separates us from God. We all have a sin problem, all of us. We're born that way. But see, we can trust in what Jesus did for us on the cross. He died a death for us. He took our sin on himself. He paid our fine with his own life. And now we can put our faith in what he did for us. We can choose to turn towards Jesus, to fix our eyes on him, turn from our sin. We can begin a relationship with him. It's a decision that you make, and you can make it right here, right now. And you can begin a relationship with the Prince of Peace. If you're doing that today, we want to ask that you let us know about it. There's a connection card in your chair. You can fill it out. One of the options on the back says, I'm committing my life to Christ. If you check that box at all of our campuses in the lobby, there's a Next Step Center. There's volunteers there that'll talk with you, give you one of our free orange leather Bibles. And man, we want to celebrate this decision with you. As now you can go home tonight, you can lay your head on your pillow with the peace of knowing that your relationship with God is where it's supposed to be, and that you'll spend eternity with him in heaven. Man, that's peace. And whether you're committing your life to Christ today or you've been a Christian for 60 years, there's a battle going on inside of us, in our minds. Chris talked a lot about it last week, the darkness and light. There's two sides at war within us. If we're not careful, we can believe the lies. Our emotions can get off the rails, and our lives can become chaos. And that's not what he wants for us. So I'm gonna give you some practical ways this week you can fix your eyes on Jesus. And I'm not pretending these are something profound that you haven't heard before. They're very, very simple. And at the same time, they're difficult to do, especially when you're in the middle of a storm. But if you would say, man, that's me. I'm out of control. I'm tired. Ask yourself if you're doing these things and then try them this week. The first one is this. Read his word. Open your Bible and read it. And then believe what he says over what you feel. Because what he says is the truth. What you feel, a lot of the times, is a lie. Second, pray for his perspective. This is huge, guys. This is something I started doing a while back. If we get in these circumstances and situations and we're in this storm and that's all we can see, right? And it seems so big. But if you can pray that God would give you his perspective on your situation, it changes everything, because there's something about seeing your situation through a big God man, our problems become so small. Pray for his perspective in your situation. And then last, pray for his peace. He said, don't freak out. Don't panic. Instead, pray. And he promises us he will give us peace when it doesn't make sense. And that's what we're all after, right? Peace. That's what he wants for us. And then as we get more and more of him in our lives, there's no room for anger. There's no room for fear. There's no room for sadness. And he tells us instead he's going to add to us not just joy, but love and peace and patience and kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. All the things he promises to add to our lives as we follow him. I want to leave you with the words of Jesus himself. If you're tired today, Jesus sees you and he knows where you're at. And he tells us in Matthew 11, come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I'm humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Jesus saying, come to me. I'll give you rest for your mind. I'll calm the waters of your emotions. Guys, as believers, as Christ followers, if you consider yourself a Christian, Jesus lives inside of you. Like, we have the Spirit of God living in us, right? That means the same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead lives in you. The same one that wins in the end lives in you. So then why would we choose to live reactive lives? We don't have to. So my prayer for you today, if that's you, man, turn your eyes to him. Ask him for peace. Ask for his perspective. And believe what he says over the lie of your own feelings. Would you pray with me? God, we thank you that your word is true. And we thank you that you see us, God. You know, you've promised us we would have trouble. But we also know that you overcame the world and that we can have peace in the middle of our storm. So God, there's so many of us that are going through difficult things and we can't help that. But God, we choose in this moment to look to you instead of our circumstances. We look to you and we choose peace over anything else because we know that you are God and you are in control. We love you so much. In your name, amen.
Thanks for checking out one of our messages today. For more information about our church or to watch other messages, you can go to our website at experiencelifenow.com. Let us know if we can serve you in any way, and we hope to see you real soon.